Hey guys, it's Chris. From the lunatic murderer with devil horn tattoos to the guy who died after getting ink and then going swimming, here are 10 horrendous times when tattoos went wrong. Number 10. Devil horns. We've all seen some pretty awful tattoos, right? Whether it was someone that decided to get their lover's name somewhere a little too visible and then they broke up, only to have that name inked on their body for the next lover to see, or maybe something less romantically complicated but equally as bad. Maybe you've seen someone with a horribly misspelled tattoo, like no regrets. There's certainly some irony to that one. A man named William Bottoms Jr. was in a bit of trouble after being suspected of committing a horrendous double murder. Things weren't really going that well for Mr. Bottoms, and his lawyer was having a bit of a hard time defending this guy because he had tattoos all over his face that made him look like a complete lunatic. You're familiar with the phrase, "don't judge a book by its cover," but this was a situation where the jury was definitely going to be doing that. In fact, the defense attorney said before the trial even began that he hoped the jury would judge his client based on his character and not the color of his skin, especially because his skin seemed to be mostly green, covered in multicolored ink, and honestly it was kind of terrifying. I'm not saying he looked reptilian, but if there was a contest for looking like a mutant ninja turtle without a shell, William Bottoms would probably win. With tattoos like this, it's hard to look innocent. Bottoms was being charged with the murders of 2 men from Baton Rouge, who were found shot in the back of the head in 2017. His lawyers hoped that jurors would ignore his face tattoos, including the devil horns inked over his eyebrows. But in the end, it's hard to ignore the horror someone purposely puts on their face. Bottoms was found guilty on both counts and sent to jail. So I guess you really can hit rock bottoms. Number 9. The REDRUM carjacker. There's a guy named Daryl Goulat, and he apparently liked the movie The Shining based on the Stephen King novel of the same name so much that he got red rum tattooed on his forehead. Of course, and spoiler alert here if you haven't seen The Shining, but red rum spells murder backwards. It's obviously a really weird thing to get tattooed on your forehead, but Daryl is exactly the type of weirdo who would get such a thing. He was recently jailed for 30 years after pleading guilty to a case in which he carjacked a senior citizen while threatening them with a jagged piece of glass in New Orleans. According to the Huffington Post, this guy also tried to rob a lady with a knife before he attacked the senior citizen. Daryl has a rap sheet kind of a mile long with plenty of felony convictions for obscenity and possession with intent to distribute. He has a serious drug issue, but he never did say why he got a giant tattoo of murder spelled backwards on his forehead. If anything, it just made him a more obvious criminal. So have you seen The Shining? And if you did so, did you immediately say, red rum, in that creepy possessed little kid voice? Number 8. Freckle fail. A 21-year-old TV star in Australia recently had the tattoo fail of a lifetime after she tried to do a DIY beauty hack. Her name is Tilly Whitfield, and she made the horrible decision of trying to give herself freckles by stabbing her face with a sewing needle dipped in tattoo ink. She learned the technique from a video on TikTok, which is obviously the best place to get health advice, right? The problem is that stabbing yourself in the face with a sewing needle and tattoo ink is not exactly the safest thing to do. After stabbing all across her face with the needle, she broke out in horrible lesions. Her face became disfigured and scarred. She suffered from a temporary loss of vision in one eye because her face swelled up so badly and she got sick from an infection and then was hospitalized. Somehow bacteria got into the self-inflicted wounds and just completely destroyed her face. Even after trying to remove the hideous scars, her face will never quite look the same. But of course, this was pretty easy to see coming. After all, she admitted in an interview that she really didn't know what kind of ink to get, so she just ordered some off eBay. Tilly, you should probably stay off the internet for a while. Have you seen this wild idea trending on TikTok? Would you ever want to try it yourself? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 7. The wrong coordinates. A woman from St. Louis, Missouri wanted to get a tattoo of Sedona in Arizona, apparently to commemorate its natural beauty. Sedona is a very beautiful place, so it wasn't necessarily the worst idea in the world. The woman thought it was a cute idea for a tattoo design. She was planning on getting the coordinates of Sedona tattooed on her shoulder blade. So she went to the tattoo artist, gave the guy the coordinates, and got the tattoo. The issue was that afterwards, when she typed those coordinates into Google Maps, she realized she'd kind of messed them up. Instead of getting the exact position of Sedona tattooed on her, She got the coordinates for some random spot in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean, somewhere near the coast of Chile. So what happened? Well, she messed up the longitude. The tattoo kinda marked the right spot, only a whole lot more south. Number 6. Skinhead murderer. A crazy skinhead, 38-year-old Curtis Michael Algier, who killed a Utah correctional officer during a botched escape attempt from jail in 2007, has avoided the possibility of a death sentence after pleading guilty to murder in the brutal slaying of Steven Anderson. Without a pair of plastic flex cuffs to use, the correctional officer removed the inmate's metal handcuffs so that he could undergo an MRI scan of his lower back. Algier, who was serving a sentence for burglary and forgery, was somehow able to overpower the officer and then shot him twice. And you know what? Nobody even felt even the slightest little bit of sorry for this guy. You've never seen someone so covered in beyond aggressively racist tattoos, literally from his head to his toes. This guy had swastikas tattooed on both of his cheeks, skinhead clearly tattooed on his forehead, and just about every other classic skinhead tattoo somewhere else on his body. It's no surprise prosecutors didn't go easy on Mr. Curtis Algier. It's kinda hard to feel sorry for somebody when they're literally tattooed with hate. And besides, he did shoot the officer to death with his own gun. Hopefully this time they lock Curtis up somewhere a bit more secure. Number 5. Tattoo blindness. It's called sclera tattooing, and it's when a person gets ink injected into the white part of their eye. While I did say it's pretty popular, by popular I kinda mean a handful of crazy people have attempted it. To get your eyeball tattooed, you can expect a fair amount of pain and swelling. However, in 2017, a tattoo model from Ontario got even more than that after getting the procedure done. The eyeball tattoo went horribly wrong and the needle penetrated too deep into her eyeball, leading her to be partially blind, to the point where she has considered removing her eyeball altogether. The poor woman now has a completely black eye instead of white, and she can only see out of one of them. Upon investigation, it was also discovered that the tattoo artist didn't even use the right type of ink to perform the procedure and could face 3 years in prison. It's definitely more of a creepy look. But then again, that's exactly what she was kinda going for in the first place. She posted a picture on her Instagram with the caption, "I don't care what people say, the rush is worth the price I pay. I get so high when you're with me, but crash and crave you when you leave." We aren't really sure if those are lyrics to her favorite song or if that's how she really feels about her new look. But unfortunately for this poor tattoo model, doctors are fairly sure she'll soon lose vision in her other eye as well. Number 4. The wrong Irish. An American woman was trying to get in touch with her Irish roots. To do this, she thought, what better way than getting a tattoo in traditional Irish Gaelic? And what better way to announce herself to the world as the most basic kind of person than to get Live, Laugh, Love tattooed on her own back? The woman's plan was to translate Live, Laugh, Love into Gaelic and get the words tattooed on her spine. The issue here is that literal translation isn't usually the best. If you want a realistic translation, then you need to speak to someone who actually knows the language. Instead of getting Live, Laugh, Love, the woman had Bo, Gary, Gra tattooed down her back. One of the words she got right. Gra does mean love. However, Bo means alive instead of live. And finally, the middle word Gary doesn't even mean anything. The closest translation is stud horse. So instead of getting Live, Laugh, Love, she ended up getting Alive, Stud Horse, Love tattooed down her back in a foreign language. Maybe next time she should just stick to English. Do you know anyone who's got a tattoo in a language that they don't even speak? Come on, we know you do. Everyone does. Hey, feel free to tell us about your smart friends in the comments section down below. Or maybe you want to use a different word than smart. I don't know. Number 3. 27 times arrested. There's a man from Florida who looks pretty rough. I know this really isn't surprising, but it does deserve a spot on our list. His name is Charles Easter, and according to the Daily Mail, he's been arrested at least 27 times. His most recent arrest was for disorderly conduct in Fort Lauderdale, after he became unruly while visiting his friend in an emergency room at the local hospital. The police were called and he had to be hauled out, and he went kicking and screaming. But here's where Charles Easter becomes kind of a legend. He has the word holla tattooed on his forehead in huge letters. He also has the words "I bet you won't" tattooed on his back, and a few teardrops coming down from the corner of his eye. Nobody knows exactly where this guy came from or why he has such ridiculous tattoos, but if you're lucky, you can find him walking around in Florida wasted out of his mind and wearing a bikini. And no, it doesn't look super good on him. Oh, and also Charles goes by another name. Holla Beyonce, Alicia Keys, and Riri. So how is this guy even real? Number 2. Left paralyzed. A woman named Nancy Anderson was just 20 years old when she decided to get a butterfly tattooed on her wrist. How many girls do you know with a butterfly tattoo? Nancy's big mistake here was going to an unlicensed tattoo studio, because all the legit studios were fully booked. It was a pretty bad decision not to wait on her part, seeing as after she had the cheap butterfly tattoo jabbed onto her wrist, she came down with an infection that sent her to the hospital and almost killed her. Yikes. When Nancy woke up the next day, she couldn't even feel her arm. She was left paralyzed from the botched tattoo. Nancy went straight to the hospital and was given urgent treatment and put on a drip of antibiotics to treat what had become a festering wound on her wrist. Somehow, the unlicensed tattoo artist had poisoned the poor girl and left her with a permanent scar rather than a cute tattoo. It now looks absolutely hideous, but at least doctors were able to cure her infection. Maybe next time you'll wait for a professional, Nance. If this happened to you, would you ever even try to get another tattoo? I probably wouldn't. Number 1. Swimming with ink. They say you're not supposed to go swimming with a fresh tattoo. Most people think it's just one of those silly rules that you don't need to abide by, like not getting too much sun on a new tattoo, or like not swimming after you've had a full meal. Well, one guy who didn't listen to the rules is now dead. The unnamed man was in Texas to get a tattoo on his right leg. According to the report from CNN, he went swimming just 5 days later in the Gulf of Mexico. It was 3 days following his swimming vacation that he was admitted in Dallas to the Parkland Memorial Hospital, complaining of unbearable pain in his legs and feet. Then he began to develop a weird purple patch on his right hip. This purple patch blossomed into something horrifying. It's important to note here that this guy also had a fever, chills, and spreading redness down his lower extremities during his ordeal. Then his skin began bursting open where the purple patch was. His skin literally unzipped to reveal the meat beneath in seriously gross sores. Hospital staff eventually figured out he had a bacterium called Vibrio vulnificus, something found in coastal ocean water. He had to be kept sedated because the infection grew so bad that his legs began to blacken and bubble as if he had the plague. But in the end, there was nothing doctors could do to save him, and he sadly died. Thanks for watching. How do you feel about getting a tattoo after these terrifying stories? I think I'm probably gonna pass, but let us know in the comments section down below. And be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe buttons for more shocking videos. We'll see you next time.